sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beast wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by SimXperience starts now.
It's been Sage Karam domination in the Lionheart Retro Series with 3 back-to-back victories, setting a championship marker for the season. We head north of the border for the first time to the tight and twisty Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Corners here bear the names of legends like Sterling Moss and Mario Andretti, and with Sage Karam missing the action today with real-world commitments, who will write themselves into Lionheart history books at the SimXperience Grand Prix of Mosport presented by Clipping the Apex. Hello and welcome back to Racebot TV and continued coverage of the Lionheart Racing Series. My name is Arjuna Kankipati and I'm joined for today's action by the one and only Jonathan Burke, with TV cameras provided to us by Esteban Ballo and TrackCams22.com, with additional car cameras provided by Racebot's own Tyler Maxson. You can head on over to Timing 71 to follow along with live timing and scoring from today's event using their world-class suite of data analysis tools. Let's dive straight into our HyperX pre-show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. And Jonathan, like I said, we head north of the border for the first time. We were talking about your memories of this track and some of the chaos that this final turn has seen, but round 4 of this championship, it has been Sage Karam domination so far this season, but we will have a first-time winner in 2021 come the end of this race.
And this is a big moment, I think, for a lot of guys. You're talking about Mike Romanis, Ricky Harden, Matt Taylor, some of those guys in the top 5 in the points that know Sage is not here. This is a good time to capitalize and maybe get a win and maybe put yourself above the rest and give yourself a chance at that championship. And obviously with a circuit like this, it's long and flowing. We're going to see a similar circuit like this, I think, in Phillip Island in May 13th. These are going to be 2 good tracks, I think, for someone to really stand out.
And of course, we've had a 2-week break. The next time we are back after a subsequent 2-week off, we will head to the Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle, your neck of the wood, Jonathan, for the first of our Triple Crown races this season. Let's take a look at the drivers' standings presented by SimXperience and the AccuForce Pro V2. It is Sage Karam that enjoys almost a 50-point advantage at the top here, but like mentioned, opportunities for the likes of Rasmus, Harding, and maybe even Taylor to make some positions up here. And in a championship, Jonathan, that has a lot of rookies in it. We've seen a lot more of them up in these top 10 in the prior couple of weeks, but you still got 3 of them, Matt Taylor, Nick DeGroot, and Danny Roberts. It's always good to see newcomers to Lionheart making an impression very early in the season.
Yeah, and I think you have to do that to kind of establish yourself among the community and among the grid as well, and get some respect going forward, and maybe put yourself in a good position as well late in the season. It is a long season. We're only in the 4th race, and we still have quite a long way to go before we even crown any champions or crown Rookie of the Year or anything like that. So being good early, really good sign for these 3.
And it's been a chaotic and crazy season, to say the very least. Let's take a look then at the rookie standings. Focus in on those rookies. These championship standings presented by Butt Kicker. Matt Taylor does have a bit of a buffer over DeGroot and Roberts, but some interesting names here include DJ Clark, who had a podium early on in this championship. But I think today it's all eyes on Lavoie Motorsport here, Jonathan. They have a lot of experience in this Lotus 79 on the iRacing.com service. And as we head to the road course, and a very tricky one at that, we are expecting them to to be at the top. David Sirwar is currently top of the timing sheets in practice. 20 seconds left for drivers to set their fastest lap times before we head into solo car qualifying.
I know his teammates that you see up on screen are not that far behind in practice. They are currently 12th and 8th. So really good sign for this team. Having all these cars is going to be in the top. And I feel like as well, having this big team is going to be really interesting for the strategy. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might be able to do it on one stop if you're really, really good in the fuel saving. And having a big team all at the front, that's going to open up the strategy door.
I do think you can do it on one stop. Before we get to the event details, quick look at the team standings presented by HyperX. You will see it as Raven Motorsport Silver that does enjoy a give or take about 30-point buffer over Graphics LC Motorsports. These championship standings will be ever dynamically changing in the early portions of these seasons because, of course, a lot of newcomers, it takes them a while to get their sea legs, if you will, in this Lionheart Championship. Quick look then at the series details presented by -273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, -273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on -273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit -273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code -273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. And I mentioned this car, the Lotus 79, Jonathan. It's such a classic, ground effect. This is when it was really being pioneered. A custom fix setup, so all of these drivers have to deal with the same car. It's all about what they can do with their own 2 feet and their hands in terms of getting the most out of the lap time. And on the line, $6,774 and a triple crown that I mentioned slightly earlier.
Yeah, and for a lot of these teams, they put in a lot of the practice hours. They put in all these drivers that come back year in and year out. That's the real big prize right there, that cash and money, and it's going to be rewarded at the end of the year, all of their hard work. And you see the defending series champion Ryan Otis, and you mentioned it before we came on. He is here today in the #1 machine. And then Raven Motorsports Black, the defending team champions, already Sage Karam has been winning.
Yeah, I think Sage Karam domination, I do like the ring of that. And, of course, he is close to announcing his plans for the 2021 Indianapolis 500. Of course, the NTT IndyCar Series gets underway this coming weekend from the Barma Motorsports Park. Delighted for that to happen. Here are the event details. Sage Karam domination, it ends today. We'll have a first-time winner in 2021. And I do wonder, Jonathan, we were talking about it before we came on air. You have Ryan Otis, the defending series champion, who's focused more attention on the Lionheart IndyCar Series this year. He returns then to the Mosport track, one that he has tasted victory in the inaugural race when the Lionheart Retro Series came here in Season 3. I do wonder if he's going to be on top, but like we said, there's some very strong names that we expect to make a point of how strong they're going to be on the road courses of the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, and you talk about no room for mistakes here, and this is, again, a big flowing course. A course that I often have seen some of the NASCAR truck races or Xfinity races here, which those get a lot more crazier, a lot more mistakes. So mistakes are going to prove key, and I already talked about strategy. Strategy is, I think, going to be key because you can do it on one stop, you might be able to do it on 2, and with this fixed setup, having that fresh rubber may prove the difference in pace and may prove the difference in who stands on top of the podium.
So I have up there as well the real-life track record of 104.094. That was set by Dindo Capello in the infamous Audi R10 TDI, part of the Audi diesel domination at Le Mans. And this was back in 2008 with a GP of Mosport, back when the LMP1 cars used to come and race around this track. The race record set in the inaugural season race of 107.717, so gives you an indication of the pace differential. It is not that much slower by any means. Let's take a look at this track in a bit more detail. 2.459 miles in length with 10 turns. And again, Americans have an interesting way of calling their corners here. Turn 5, named after Sterling Moss because he suggested some track changes, and that's produced what is a very tricky double right-hand apex corner. And that sets up the run down the Mario Andretti straightaway here, Jonathan, into one of the prime passing opportunities. Turn 8, turn 9, and the final corner, turn 10.
And I mentioned the real-life NASCAR races. We've seen some drama out of turn 10, and I think with these cars, getting the draft and the run down that Andretti straightaway it's going to prove key and vital to see who can be the most opportunistic moving up through the field and who can be the most defensive without putting themselves at risk.
So let's get some of our first looks of cars on track. Always exciting with 5 minutes left in qualifying. You can see it is defending series champion Ryan Otis that is provisional pole by 0.3 of a second from Aaron Morgan, former NTT, as it is nowadays the NTT IndyCar Series, but former Indy 500 competitor Richie Hearn moves himself up into second, 1/10 behind. It could be for the first time here. We see a number of first-time winners, but we obviously have to see them challenge Ryan Otis first here, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think that one car is going to be a bit tricky to beat, although pace-wise, only a 10th in front. I don't know. And again, with the strategy, could that come back to bite him later on in the race, depending on what he goes? If he tries for the one stop, if he tries for the two, how aggressive does everyone else be, knowing that Karam's not here? I think there's a lot of, factors that I don't even know Ryan Otis is aware of that are going to go on behind him.
Lovely look on board here as you see just how tail happy this car can be, getting the power down through turn 6. Now you go through turn 7 as you work your way into turn 8. This is what I was maybe having a little bit of a dig at, the corner numbers here, but obviously this will be one of the prime passing opportunities. Down into the S's, this first right-hand sweeper all the way to the inside curb here as you set up on the right side for a left-hand sweeper. Once more setting up all the way on the left. It's where Jonathan was alluding to some of the door banging that NASCAR has seen over the years. Also being home, of course, to some fisticuffs. I think about 4 years ago as well, Jonathan.
I have that video saved on all of my social media just to kind of relive that moment of... I think it was hilarious, although I think in racing, probably frowned upon. And here we look at the Avatar Racing Machine in the 45. Now fourth. Look at how tail happy it is out of that last corner.
Michael A. O'Brien, who is relatively new in terms of the Lionheart Retro Series, rookie, but is a very strong competitor. Qualifying done for him. Who else do we have out on track? Looks like Ryan Otis still setting some at least qualifying, or race practice, excuse me. They get 4 laps here, Jonathan, and I think that produces an interesting dynamic because fixed setup is the same setup that the cars will be using in the race as well, so it's almost full on fuel. I think Ryan Otis right now, sorry, we're watching Dustin Wardlow, I think just cooling the tires down to maybe build up for his final run here.
Yeah, maybe that, or just kind of testing the feel of how the tires feel after they've had a little bit of wear on them, or maybe even go through a heat cycle. Obviously if it's a fixed setup and we're having the same setting as the qualifying and the race, you kind of want to know and take some notes of how that car felt after those first few laps. Because I really do think here, these first 2 or 3 laps are going to be key. Everyone's going to be bunched up and grouped up together. And we already see here David Soares getting on this tricky pit road. It's going through that flowy section of the S's. I do not doubt there will be a mistake coming into pit road.
Yeah, it's one that I've seen as well on the iRacing servers, a number of mistakes happening. It does look like, though, for the most part, cars are done with qualifying attempts. You still got, of course, Ryan Otis out on track. We're watching Matt Taylor in the black HyperX machine. Still got Covey Moore, who is in 30th position. Only 33 cars in the field tonight, so a little bit smaller in terms of numbers. But lap traffic will likely be a factor here, Jonathan, because the pace difference between first and 30th is about 1.4 seconds as Covey Moore goes up into 27th provisionally. Taylor once more using a little bit of the gravel on the outside and getting sideways. Comes across the line with a 1:08.938. Doesn't count, though, because he's already done all of his qualifying lap times. But getting back to the point at hand, I think lap traffic, especially through the pit cycle here, Jonathan, is going to be a massive factor.
Yeah, especially if people go off strategy and people do, different 2 stops, or people just go for that 1 stop, it's going to be a big factor. Also, like, this course is a little over 2.5 miles. That's not that long for some of the road courses here, especially with how flowy it is and how tail happy we've seen some of these guys. If mistakes happen and it spreads out this field, I think probably like lap 10 or 15, we might see a few guys in the danger of getting lapped early.
Let's jump on board with Matt Taylor then with 60 seconds left in qualifying. Ryan Otis has called it quits and come down onto pit road for his own pit entry practice. In through 8, wonderful visor cam that we have courtesy of RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxim. Look at the speed that Matt Taylor carries in through these final couple of corners. Still doing 154 clicks here, which is in an open wheel car like this, very much a scary factor. The newer versions of this track in the real world, Jonathan, have a bit more runoff area, so you have that safety factor. But here, there's all grass, and I think attrition might be key.
Yeah, because I think the fastest way around here is just holding as much speed as you can and really getting a handle on this car. Again, it's a flowing circuit, this circuit. So you got to really keep, your arms at the wheel. You got to keep tugging at it. And hopefully these drivers will survive. Hopefully we'll see most of them survive to the end of and I'll be excited to see all 33 finish.
Well, what we know is checkered flag is about to wave in qualifying, so let's go trackside then and take a look at our starting grid here from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And on pole position, it is the defending series champion. He stepped away from full-time competition in this series, but with Sage Karam away, Ryan Otis on pole with a 108.598. On his outside, Mike Rasmussen in the Graphics LC Motorsports car, just over 1/10 separates the front row of the grid. You got Richie Hearn on the inside of row number 2. Michael O'Brien, watch out for the number 45 for Avatar Auto Racing. He'll line up on the outside of row 2. David Sirois for Lavoie Motorsports. Watch out for the French outfit. Lots of experience in this Lotus 79. Aaron Morgan, though, has been feisty this season. He'll be on the outside of row 3, looking to make his way through the field. Matt Taylor on the inside of row 4 with Chris Reagan in the purple and black on his outside. Ricky Harding in 9th, and Lionel Calista rounds out the top 10. Chris Fowler in 11th, Alex Guyon, another one of the Lavoie Motorsports drivers in the 08 on the outside of row number 6. He stops in 12th position. 13th, you've got Dustin Wardlow, Raven Motorsports silver driver, of course, leading these team championships. Outside of him, you got Paul Slavonic in the wood-colored and wood-trimmed Riding Shotgun Motorsports number 78. Georgian Saldo, the series organizer, he'll line up in 15th position with Chris Staples on his outside in the 96. Caleb Benke in 17th position, and Trevor Malone rounds out row 9 on this grid. DJ Clark podium in the opening race of the season, but it's been a bit more difficult for him on the road courses. He lines up on the inside of row 10. Isaac Snyder in the pink and blue lines up on the outside to complete the top 20. Craig Forsyth in 21st, Ariel Alanis in 22nd, Paul Jenkins in 23rd, with Danny Roberts in the all-red machine rounding out the top 24 cars. Mike Rigney, Chris Lanini 25th and 26th. Covey Moore and Jean-Francois Matt, they're back on row number 14 with Motorsport.com rider Nick de Groot starting back in the pack and with some work to do back in 29th. Look at how close some of these cars are as well. Just hundredths of a second separating them back here with Robert Mikes on the outside of that row. Thomas Lovelady, Tom Dreiling, and then Gary Corley, the final cars that did not set qualifying lap times. And that was a look at your butt kicker starting grid. Jonathan, some quick predictions from you because the cars are rolling here. Ryan Otis starts on pole. Who do you think is going to take the victory here?
I want to say the defending series champion Ryan Otis, but I have a feeling that maybe that 70 car of Richard Hearn might be able to pull it out.
It would be awesome if Richie Hearn, who has been a very ardent supporter of this series, could take pole position. We do have some onboard cameras to take a look at throughout the entirety of this race. 4 highlighted ones and, of course, onboard looks with all of the drivers. Here's David Sirois in the number 99. He lines up in 5th. He's got the SimXperience onboard, makers of the AccuForce Pro V2 direct drive steering system. For more information, visit simexperience.com. Then his teammate, Jean-Francois Matt, he's a bit further back in your field with the HyperX on board. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Alex Guyon with the butt kicker on board. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. Aaron Morgan has the Clipping That Apex onboard camera, your home for custom motorsports art. For more information, visit clippingtheapex.com. And of course, like I said, not just these 4 drivers, but every single car in this field we'll have an onboard look at. Shout out to Tyler Maxon for all of his hard work there. It's going to be a very intriguing 51 laps here. 125 miles north of the border, 10 turns, and it's a very tricky track to make sure you don't run off into the grass. Defending race winner Sage Karam is not present. He will not put himself into the Lionheart history books as being the first driver to win 4 races in a row to kick off this season. Instead, it will be Ryan Otis, defending series champion, at the front. He's got The field behind him trying to chase him down. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart. Let's get underway for the SimXperience Grand Prix of Mosport, presented by Clipping That Apex. Already they're going to work side by side through turn number 1, but for the most part, they will single file themselves out here. Got a couple of cars off the track. That's Chris Reagan, Lionel Kalisto, and no major issues there as they fly their way down this left-handed, though, Jonathan. You see one more car running off into the grass. It's George Anzaldo and Richie Hearn. Oh, look at this chaos in the background. I think George Anzaldo has gone off and lost a number of positions.
And there's 2 guys back there skating along in the grass. And not only is this the most opportunistic time to get positions, but it's also the most dangerous, because if you go off and spin out, you can collect 2 or 3 other drivers, and your race is all over from there.
So it was Anzaldo and Slavonic that were the 2 cars on the outside of the Clayton corner that were off into the grass. Look, though, at, I think it's David Sirois who's got the run down the straightaway. No, indeed, it's Aaron Morgan with the pressure behind. So Sirois up a position on this start. Morgan has lost out at least 1. Side by side, they'll work into turn 8 for the first time. I think Morgan should be able to get this one done. Tires will still be relatively cool, and I think Sirois has to concede for now. It's Otis that leads, though, just 3/10 clear of Mike Rasmas. Michael O'Brien in 3rd position rounds out the podium. Aaron Morgan off into the gravel, and David Sirois rounds out the top 5 then, Jonathan.
Yeah, pretty calm and cool collected at the front. I think everyone single filed out quickly. Everyone at the back was trying to get a bit of a move on, but I'm curious to see now what the 45, 48, and 99 cars are kind of going to do in this scenario. Seeing Rasmus and Otis kind of check out in the distance. They already put a second on the rest of the field.
Yeah, Michael O'Brien as well is in a unique situation where he's got a bit of separation both in front and behind. So as he plunges down the hill into the braking zone of 5A, you can see it's Mike Rasmus still very close onto the rear wing of defending series champion Ryan Otis. And at this point, Jonathan, this is not a race that has typically seen many lead changes in the past. 4 in the first time, and I think that was mostly on strategy. Just 2 last time we came here. Sage Karam basically led from the green flag to the checkered. I have a feeling it's not going to be as easy this time around.
No, because the draft is going to be so key down that Mario Andretti straightaway. And I feel like strategy is going to come into a big key, especially later on. And also, talking about the tires, when those tires start to fade away, it depends how well some of these drivers are conserving them. If Otis is pushing really, really hard right now and burning through a lot of them, Rasmus might have a charge in about 10 laps time.
And again, we kind of mentioned it in the pre-show. This is expected to be a 2-stop race for most cars, but you do have the option, if you do a bit of fuel saving, to do just enough to make it a 1-stopper. But the question becomes, how much time do you lose then, Jonathan? I tell you what, before we get into the strategy, let's try and work our way through some of the replays on the start. It was pretty chaotic. And this is first through turn 1. It's Reagan who will go wide. No contact, just drifts himself, and you see Kalisto follows him, bumping themselves over the grass there as the 78 of Slavonic tries to take advantage. That's what shoots him off into the grass. And Zaldo has his own issue then. And let's see if we can pick up what happens to the series organizer here. Jump on board with the number 6 car here, Jonathan, as he just gets dirty air and washes his way into the grass. Yeah,
there was a guy on his inside. There was that beautiful butt kicker painted car right ahead of him. It was just a little bit of that oversteer, understeer, and then off into the grass he went. And then the 70 car, look at this. Everyone's trying to do their best way to go into Rallycross, maybe.
Yeah, and well, fortunately then for Richie Hearn, he only dropped a couple of positions. He's now managed to get on past David Sirois. We'll pick up live pictures once more as these cars work their way out of 2, I believe, in towards Quebec corner. Richie Hearn at least back up into 5th. Left side of the screen, let's quickly show people movers and shakers in the early stages here. As Richie Hearn, who lives in rural Nevada, tends to have internet issues from time to time, but won't be such a factor here on the road courses because, of course, they're not racing as closely as they have in weeks past on the ovals. It's been a very, very intense. On board with the SimXperience camera then as the 99 car chases down Hearn in front, and left side of the screen, you'll see Anzaldo down 16 positions, Slavonic down 19. And no major movers just yet here, Jonathan. As we enter these early stages, you'll see Matt Taylor trying to come around the outside, but I don't think he'll be able to make that one stick.
No, I think it was a bit opportunistic going into the S's as we head into the final corner. But one car I think those two have to be worried about now is that 20 of Fowler. He's up 3 positions already, and now, due to that little error, he's on the back of the 8 machine.
And Fowler, who's been very quick in qualifying on some of the ovals that we've been to, outside the top 10, but works his way in. This will be the kind of start he would have hoped for. He might be someone here that, you talk about fuel saving, I do think he's in a good position here because cycle back on the left side now to your intervals here, and you'll see that Richie Hearn is about 1.2 seconds behind Aaron Morgan. The top four kind of compressing themselves once more here. And if you are someone like Fowler that is kind of mired in this peloton that's chasing the leading group here, why not do some fuel saving? Because you can see it is somewhat single files. I think Dustin Wardlow is off the track at Moss Corner. I'll have to go and take a look at the Racebot TV replay, Jonathan.
Yeah, we mentioned it early on. It's an easy corner to get wrong, and I think it's all by himself. Tricky uphill braking section right here, and then, yeah, the back end just kicks out. These back ends are so happy coming back under the power, especially in that 5B area, as you mentioned, North America not naming corners very well.
Great little look here, though, at the paint scheme as the zoomed-in shot. The 97 has a quick reaction there. It is Kalisto, of course, at his own off. And patient by Wardlow to not rejoin into the path of oncoming traffic. Waited for the right opportunity. I think that was one of the factory-backed cars that was sliding through as Wardlow got back up to speed. But let's rejoin with live coverage then. And you'll see once more the gap between Sirois and Hearn is actually extended on up here, Jonathan. And in fact, I think one of the quickest cars on track right now is Aaron Morgan in the 4th position right now.
Yeah, last time by he was only 2/10 off the 2 leaders, and I think this 48 car is sniffing a podium. He's got a big draft right here on O'Brien, and they might get a little dicey into the S's, but it's early on, so I think Morgan is going to be wise and not try a dive. He thought about it, though.
I think he thought about it. That drop down that straightaway is significant enough that it would appear as though that we might see that being the primary opportunity. There are moves, by the way, happening further back in the pack. It's not like I think it's impossible to pass, but it does require, I think, some dirty air. There's a good look down the main straightaway at just how close some of these cars are. Great flying shot as well of just how much speed they carry in through turn 1. For the most part, Jonathan, we'll talk about the track conditions very quickly. 42 degrees Celsius. We don't always see drivers taking tires. Not sure if we'll see it either today because you've got the very old bias ply, style of tires. They do tend to last significant portions of this race, and even with the relatively warm track conditions, we might see the tires surviving that long.
Yeah, it depends. It's a warm day. It's a little bit of an abrasive surface here at Mosport Park, so we'll have to see. And we'll have to see if there really is a delta like later on in the race of losing a lot of time, as here comes Taylor in this 8 machine. Yeah, look at how powerful this draft is going to be. I think it's going to be key later on in the race especially.
To the outside, he looks in the old black car. Sirois will fight this one back, but I think this time Taylor has a bit more confidence and gets the move done. Slides up into the path of the 99, and he's up into 6th position. 1 place gained on the day. Sirois, though, down a couple. Maybe expected a bit more of a strong performance, but maybe fuel saving, maybe tire conservation as well at this point, Jonathan, because it is very early in this race. Only lap 8 out of 51, and we talked about just how difficult it can be at this track to stay on, and other than, I think, a couple of issues that we've seen, it's been pretty clean. As I say that, I think we've got a replay to go take a look at here. So let's go spool up our Racebot TV replay machine. Ooh, Tom Dreiling gets onto the grass there, and very fortunate to hang on to that one.
Just I think a little bit of the rear tire.
No, we're going to have to come back to live picture. Sorry, I'm seeing a big crash on the timing screen right now. In fact, we'll have to go to the replay first. It's Sirois and Hearn coming down into Moss Corner. I think Richie Hearn has the issue by himself first. Yep, you can see sideways, just as we saw with Wardlow. This time, though, he's back into the path, and I don't think Sirois knew what to do, and if he had just reacted and pulled himself down to the inside, Jonathan, he would have slipped on through safely there.
Yeah, I think Hearn was trying to do the smart thing and get out of the way of the racing line, but I think Sirois saw the gap right. Yeah, he should have pulled to the bottom on that one.
I think he also just got some understeer at the worst part. Let's first take a look at the incident from Richie Hearn's perspective. Ooh, just too much speed on the entry, and that's what upsets the balance of the car. So take a look at the slow-mo here. Yeah, that car is always sliding into the path of Hearn, and he decides to try and get out of the way, but I think a little bit too little, too late. There's almost contact with Trevor Malone as we come back to live coverage as well. So Sirois now back in, I think, 13th position. Yes, indeed, it's left side of your screen. You can see that once more. And the Frenchman has a lot of work to do. Back to the front, Jonathan. Aaron Morgan still very much on the tail end of Michael O'Brien.
Now, but a lot closer. He's going to have a lot more draft, and he's going to go to the inside, at least into the S's. That should be... Oh, that was even done before the S's even started. That was a good move by Morgan. Unfortunately, though, a little bit far behind.
Yeah, but not even fought back, though. That's what you see from O'Brien. And I think just smart driving here, Jonathan. They're 1.9 seconds adrift from first and second now. And I think O'Brien sees the opportunity to tail on behind Aaron Morgan here, who, like we said a little bit earlier, is one of the quickest cars on track, and see what happens there. I think we have had another issue. Yes, that's Lionel Kalisto. And so, oh, that's a very damaged low to 79. He's going to have to bring that one back down onto pit road. Cars flying down his inside as you see him tow straight to the replay machine here, Jonathan. I wonder what happens. And onto the grass, we've seen that a number of times before, but that car was already sideways. I think a slight contact as well with the 96.
I want to say kudos to everyone. I think that's 8th on back to 20th. Getting out of the way, because watch this rebound right here. It's a vicious hit and back into the straightaway. But, like, great job by everyone getting out of the way, because this could have been a huge pileup had some of the first guys in this line not moved out of the way.
And apologies, there was no contact with the 96. Not sure what I saw there at all, but you can see that car viciously snaps on him. Malone gets potentially the closest there with the least time to react, and you can see just how much damage there is. One more replay to go take a look at here. This track really is catching people out. Chris Lanini into Moss corner, just a little bit deep, and a couple of cars slip down his inside. He does a good job there to hang on, Jonathan, and get that one back onto the track.
It's the Joker lap. Might as well get it out of the way now.
We've already seen it on so many occasions. Wouldn't be surprised if we see it a couple more times in the race then. So back to live coverage. You can see Lanini now behind Anzaldo on his own recovery. Bounce back up to 27th position for Anzaldo. Richie Hearn finds himself in the 16th position. Some slight damage to the front wing of that car as well, which you can see from this onboard. That will not be helping him through some of these faster corners, and especially coming down now into turn number 8. Oh no, Dustin Wardlow's had another issue in the number 9 machine. This one appears to be terminal. Oh, he's turned back to pit lane and straight once more to the RaceSpot TV replay machine here.
Yeah, I think attrition has proven key here.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness gracious, what? Where did the 29 come from? And he's up and over.
That is... Oh, and he's up and over once more. Is he going to do it a third time? Nope. Yes.
I thought the 29 was going to help.
That's what I was wondering. Third time's a charm. You can see it's Thomas Lovelady who unfortunately loses it by themselves first. And then up and over for Wardlow once. And then up and over a second time. Interesting one there. And we'll go straight to the second of the replays that we have to go take a look at. Gary Corley in the black and gold, 07. This is coming through Quebec corner. Similar kind of issue, but fortunately for him, no one in close vicinity. And, well, he resets back to pit road, I think, more out of just not feeling like he wants to head back out onto track there, Jonathan.
Yeah, that's what we call a frustration tow. That's you put the headset down and go, oh, why did I do that? That's a frustration one. And I think he knows that he needs to be a little bit flawless here, that mistakes are going to be the thing that cost you positions, that cost you points, that could cost you the race.
Oh, no, more cars up and over in that same exact spot as well. This is coming around out of turn 3. George Anzaldo and Ariel Alanis getting involved. And Jonathan, I think you're going to have to be banned from the Lionheart comms booth, because clearly what we found is the commentary curse here is not me, but it's you. Is, oh, you'll see, I think there was the 79 car that gets mixed up in this one. 78, excuse me. I think that's Paul Slavonic.
I mean, poor Slavonic didn't have anywhere to go. He's a spinning 25, a spinning 6 machine, and then all of a sudden, well, he's into the rear end.
That's a shame then, because you'll see, we'll jump on board first with the onboard look for Slavonic, and then we'll take a look at the onboard look, subsequent rollover for Anzaldo, and see if he does the same up and over. But it's just nowhere for... Oh, it's just nowhere for Slavonic to go there. It's not been the easiest of starts to the season for him. And let's see this up and over. He does almost, I don't know what you call that there, but that is a bizarre one. And I must say, Jonathan, like I said, I think you're very much to blame because we've got one more replay to take a look at here, and it's Isaac Snyder in the pink and white.
All normal. Heading into the moss corner, and this is the corner that's caught everyone out, and into the grass. Well, it's just a drift, you know what? Good rejoin as well, but yeah, I think Jordan Zala was doing his best Beyblade impression after hitting that wall.
I think that's a pretty good one, Beyblade impression. I think I might steal that one, Jonathan.
I mean, I can't blame you if you're saying the commentator curses me, because sometimes there are races where I'm in where there is a lot of chaos.
And in a series that Jonathan and I have been covering over the past winter, it's with life safety cars in an endurance series, it's been entertaining at times. Frustrating in others. A 4-hour race with 7 cautions, which all took, I think, at least about 15 minutes. Not ideal, but it was quite interesting as we pick up the battle for 7th. Alex Guyon has mirrors filled with Ricky Harding and Chris Reagan in the purple and black, who... Reagan, by the way, is a motorcycle competitor as well. Seen some footage on social media of Reagan drag racing a motorcycle. This is, I'm sure, kind of very similar, raw, guttural, and just as, at times, unsafe experience in this car, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah, but he has experience at high rates of speeds and knows when to put himself on the limit if he's motorcycle drag racing. And that's an intense sport as well, because unlike the drag racing where you're at least in a cockpit, like these cars right here, you're exposed to the elements, but more so because you're on a motorcycle. They're so just as dangerous, but so far a good run. In the top 10, he could get a few more spots here. He's not too far off from a possible 6th place finish, depending on the strategy falls.
Yeah, you know, he's down 1 position on the day, but I think more of a credit to the likes of Fowler and Guyon, who have really worked themselves up 5 positions each so far. I must say, it's not been as much action at the front, and there has been passing further back. Of course, a number of cars working their way up through the field. I think Richie Hearn has just passed Craig Forsyth in the pink and silver, still nursing that damage. No, I think, in fact, Danny Roberts has gone and past Richie Hearn, so just that damage may be hurting him here, but you'll see the train of cars that's formed up. David Sirois looks to the outside of Caleb Benke as we go side by side down this straightaway. Malone lurking in the teal number 34. Can the Frenchman make this one work? He was passed around the inside slightly earlier. Oh, they'll still stick it side by side heading into turn 9. Caleb Benke still slipping and sliding around the place, almost up onto the inside curb. Are they going to go 3 wide across the start-finish line? Malone ducks and dives his way, trying to get on pass. But for now, it's David Sirois up in 11th position. 6 positions down on the day, though, unfortunately for him, Jonathan.
But he's trying to claw back as much as possible. I want to give credit to that 34 machine of Malone. He's been really, really patient, didn't try to force anything, and I think that helped that little issue that the 5 machine had out of White's corner. Really great racing here, and especially in this pack of cars that's on the edge of the top 10. They can smell a good points finish, and a lot of them need it.
Yeah, I mean, we're only early in this season, but as you see on board with Danny Roberts, a bit of a slip and a slide coming out through turn 5B. Compromises the run down the straightaway. In the drop, though, let's see how it plays out for the cars in front of him. Sirois defends from Benke. Benke's far enough to be clear of any challenge there. I think it's Danny Roberts fending off the challenge from Richie Hearn. Quite aggressive in the fend off there as well. As you see Paul Slavonic being very, very patient here as he, I think, waits for an opportunity to either get back out onto track with a very damaged race car, Jonathan, or has maybe decided, the damage to that car is too significant to continue.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he got repairs and then tried to drive it again and the repairs are just not significant enough. If he's waiting for a clean piece of track to kind of test it out, on which we mentioned also at the top of the show, this is not a long road course. And due to the issues I think a lot of people are having, there is a risk. I think the 54 machine is currently the one at risk. He's only about 10, 15 seconds or so away from being lapped.
Look at the damage to that car, though, Jonathan. Even after, 3 minutes 40 seconds of repairs for Paul Slavonic. I mean, that car is very much in a sorry state. 4 laps down, and no matter what he does, I think, unfortunately for him, this is going to be just recovering and garnering what points he can. In fact, no, he's going to pull to the side of the track and reset onto pit road. And you know what? I do not blame him. Oh, we'll pick up the battle, though, on the edge of the top 10. It's Benki and Sirois still side by side. For now, Sirois in front. This is incredible, Jonathan. And the top 10 are very much separating themselves out. But then 11th on back, you can pretty much throw a dragnet over them right now.
You know, a lot of these guys come in like the top 10 in points. You know, Malone is just on the outside of it. Reagan's right at 10th. Like, some of these guys just want a good finish and want to set themselves up for later in the race as well. They want to get towards that top group and maybe see if these guys are going to fall off and if you can chase them down.
Oh, I like this shot as we'll plunge down the hill into Moss Corner. See if there's a slightly different line being taken from the various cars. Oh, Benki just sends momentum into the corner, as does Richie Hearn. They'll keep it, though, single file for now. I think Craig Forsyth might have picked up a little bit of front wing damage as well on the left-hand side of his car, but down the straightaway they'll go. Don't think Benki is close enough to try something this time around, but oh, that draft is powerful. Forces the Frenchman to try and cover the inside. Benki, I think, very wise. And the reason you don't want to fight too hard right now, Jonathan, is these guys, every single lap, are losing a couple of tenths of a second to the cars up the road right now.
Yeah, and that's why I'm almost concerned about those guys fighting, because they're on the outside of the top 10 right now, and they need to set themselves up for something later in the race. And look how spread out the top 10 is, too. They're not fighting. The closest battle is between Harden and Reagan, and that's 8th and 9th, but the rest of the top 10, there's like a second, maybe two between them. So it's going to be hard to chase anyone down, especially later on in the race.
I'm just taking a look. Gap between Morgan and O'Brien is almost up to 3 seconds right now, as I think Ricky Harding has gone off track. Let's go and take a look. Yes. Oh, and through Moss Corner once more. It really is not taking any prisoners in today's race. And one more Race Spot TV replay to go and spool up them, Jonathan. See if we can pick up what happens to the 7. Jump on board, runs a little bit wide, and you know, that car pitches around in a very favorable way. He does not lose as much time as he could have there.
No, just the Moss Corner Joker lap. However, the concerning thing now is Ricky Hardin is now right in front of that giant train from 11th to 16th that has been oh so feisty and angry. So I think that might have been the worst place to come out in for the number 7 machine.
One more replay, and what's more, it's the Joker lap as you've termed it now, Jonathan, as I think Isaac Snyder has a bit of an off-track excursion in the 13 car, maybe unlucky 13, at least for today's race. Pick up live pictures once more and jump to the front of the field. Tell you what, let's talk about Michael O'Brien very quickly here, because he is our SimXperience driver profile, and you can see only 3 starts in the season, and it's not been the easiest run at all. But the pace is clearly there, Jonathan. Very quick in qualifying and practice for today's race, and very much in a hunt for his first podium in the Lionheart Retro Series today.
Yeah, 3 starts, only a best finish of an 18th so far, but I think the road course pace is really, really showing right here. You know, we saw him fast in qualifying. I noticed in the practice sheet as well, he was really high up there, and I'm trying to look for him in points, and I was like, oh, he's far down in the points. Like this, he's had to have some issues and stuff like this throughout the season, but I think this could be a real momentum changer here if he stays in this kind of top 10 scenario, and we'll see how he develops as well throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing as well, right? He's only in his 4th Retro Series start. Not sure if he brings the most experience in the 79 either, so it's very much an adjustment period. I've tried driving this car before, Jonathan. It's one of those things where you purchase a bit of content more in hopes that you get along with it and will enjoy it. And then you test it out every so often. You realize that you're pretty awful at driving any car that requires a proper shifting of gears, and then you give up and go to something like the Indy car, which ends up being comparatively easier.
I mean, these cars at the time and age, I guess, were the pinnacle of Formula One. They were a difficult car to drive and difficult to handle as well. They don't have a lot of the driving assists you see in like a Formula One car, even in Formula 3. They don't have the downforce of those cars. They have these big rear tires. They're sliding all over the place. It's a certain like niche. Everyone kind of likes it. It's like on the oval side, the Silver Crown cars. It's a certain niche. It's got a big community. It's got some talented drivers in there. But right now, in this big race, we're showing the best of the Lotus, and I think
Sirois down on pit road
may kick off the pit stops.
Yeah, well, I think Chris Lanini was down the lap before. 4. This is going to be interesting. First look at whether cars take tires or not. It was 8.3 stationary for Lanini, an indication that no tires being taken. So 99 into the box. Does it go up on the jacks? No, it does not. 5 seconds stationary, 6 seconds stationary. Engine revving. Short stop, Jonathan. No tires being taken then.
And no tires being taken. I'm wondering if he's thinking we're not going to make it to the end. And obviously, if you're putting in lap 22, yeah, you're not making it to the end. So a short stop. May go to lap 40, maybe 39, try and undercut some of those guys that he's been around, trying to regain some of that position. I think that's a good strategy if you really don't think you can fuel save at 25.
And interestingly here, Jonathan, lap traffic, we thought it would be a factor. Didn't think it would be this early in the race. The number 29 of Thomas Lovelady just up the road as we ride on board with second place Mike Rasmussen through that second corner, the left-hand sweeper that you first climb up and then plunge down the hill. I do think if you are Mike Rasmussen, this is an opportunity. Gap down to 7/10 as we go down into Moss Corner. That gap is very much being compromised as Ryan Otis fends the dirty air of Thomas Lovelady in front of him.
He's trying his best. He got around that 29, but it compromised his corner a lot, and it almost compromised that 68 car on the exit. Did you see how sideways he got?
He held on to it, though. That's the important thing. Gap now under 7/10 of a second. Well and truly in the draft as well. And that will very much bring the 68 back into contention here. And we did say slightly earlier, it's not a race that has necessarily had the most lead changes. Never had a repeat pole sitter. So we've already ticked that one off the bucket list because Ryan Otis, after taking pole in Season 3, has done it in Season 5 as well. And he's into the pit road. So as I'm looking down at my stat sheet, Ryan Otis, Aaron Morgan, they blink. But interestingly, Mike Rasmussen stays out, as does Matt Taylor. We now have to wait and see, Jonathan, if they're able to extend it a couple more laps than these guys here. If they can do it then on an effective one-stop strategy.
Well, I think the biggest concern, I think, and this is why Otis came down, is that he saw that lap car.
Change for the net race lead as Morgan gets out in front of Otis. Not sure what happened there. It's a very short stop from Morgan. He has gone for track position, Jonathan. 6.6 seconds stationary, and Otis comes out in front, behind some lap traffic here.
Oh, there's a car going off in the distance.
It's Danny Roberts. It's Danny Roberts. He's off hard into the tire wall. He's straight down onto pit road. Terminal damage. And we'll go straight to the RaceSpot TV replay if we can. Ooh, that rear end is already stepping out right in front of Trevor Malone. And we'll take one more look at it then from the onboard look here, Jonathan.
That could have been disastrous for our two net leading drivers because they were right behind us as well. Oh, that was such a heavy impact. And then just didn't get slowed up before the tire wall either.
So Rasmussen is down on pit road then this time around. So don't think, Jonathan, he's going to be able to extend it. Now the question is, with Morgan in the net race lead effectively, where does he cycle out in comparison to Rasmussen?
And I think it depends on how much fuel people are taking. I think Morgan showed his hand. He's short pitting, and he's going to come back in probably lap 40, maybe even earlier, lap 35 even.
8.7 seconds stationary then for Rasmussen off of pit road. He's still, though, in the race lead because Morgan has been chopped up behind lap traffic. That's Caleb Benke in the 5 car down the hill. They throw themselves at speed as well. Oh, this is a really high commitment track, and I think Morgan is getting frustrated that he's lost out on a potential chance to challenge here. Rasmussen in the Katzberg seat then, Jonathan. He'll have the shortest stop come the end of this race.
Now the shortest stop, and he's getting good track position right now. He's in a decent amount of clean air. He's got about a second to Ricky Harden, but we kind of got to see what Harden does, what Reagan does, and what Benke do. They're still yet to pit, and honestly, they're being a nuisance to these leaders out front.
Yeah, but this is what we said. Strategy might throw up some new contenders. Morgan will get on down the inside then of Benke, but expect Benke to come down onto pit road this time around. Watching Rasmussen, yes, he's down this time. What about Harding working his way through turn 9? Oh, very slow, and I think Rasmussen is not going to enjoy that one as well because the gap between Rasmussen and Morgan as they come across the start-finish line, Jonathan, is going to be 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, now this is going to be the time for Rasmussen to stretch his legs, show what pace he has, or maybe this is the time for Morgan to show what he has. With that one car right now behind you, I think you got to take the advantage because the one has been the dominant one. Pit road, my goodness, is it a big place right now as well.
Yeah, in fact, Otis has slid off the tail end here, 1.3 seconds adrift. Lots of cars down on the lane right now. Our timing tower is going insane. Cyril cycles back up into the 10th position as you see Richie Hearn down on pit road for an elongated pit stop. I suspect damage for the 70 car. We'll see if we can get a replay up on your screen. On board with Alex Guyon then, who's got one of our onboard cameras. This is the butt kicker on board down the hill in towards Moss Corner. This is then 7th and 8th position. Reagan, almost sideways through that corner, holds on just about. And Reagan, who is in a very impressive strategy position then, Jonathan, up in 7th place right now. Let's see what he can do, because he might actually be good to the end of this race.
Yeah, 25 laps. If he can save it a little bit. Remember, we did have that pace lap as well early on. That consumed a little bit of fuel. So, it's going to be interesting. He might make it. It's going to be close. I'm crossing my fingers because I really do want that one-stop strategy to work.
I think it might as well when you've got the likes of Rasmus and Morgan, who you can see how close Morgan is with this clipping that Apex onboard camera to the rear wing now of Mike Rasmus. Down the hill, they will go in towards this very important zone. Rasmus with an interesting line there. I think just trying to set up his braking. Morgan all the way under that huge rear wing, right behind those rear tires as well. Who gets the better run down onto the Mario Andretti straightaway, though? In the draft is the 48. Lighter on fuel, he'll be quicker down these straights as well. Which way does Rasmus choose to defend? Entering into turn 8, I think he defends the inside. Morgan looks to the outside. Can he make this one work? As side by side they will jump. I think Morgan will get this one done very easily. And Aaron Morgan, Jonathan, now is in the Katzberg seat.
Beautiful work, beautiful pass, and hard and respectful racing, though. For oh no!
Rasmus is in the wall, and he's binned it all by himself. That car is going to be done for the rest of the day. Right front suspension will be totaled. Question now is he going to come back down onto pit road, Jonathan? Take a look at this onboard before we get to the replay. You'll see steering very much crabbed to the left-hand side.
Yeah, and he's going to be a problem once that midfield comes around and catches him, because he's a couple seconds in front, but once you get down to where the 99 and the 66 are, there's a lot of intense racing.
Take a look.
Going through the S's right now. They're side by side. I think he just gets the entry and the exit wrong here. He's too close to the inside, and then he comes out a little bit wider than he wanted, and then the correction just didn't stick into the wall. And that's almost heartbreaking for him. He's second in the points and needed a good result without Sage Karam here, and unfortunately, he's going to have to come back down to pit road for repairs.
Yeah, that is rough. He's still just trundling his way at a pedestrian 200 kilometers an hour, still down this main straightaway, but very much then upsets the apple cart in terms of battles for the race lead. You can see Matt Taylor up into 3rd as a result, Michael O'Brien in 4th. Ryan Otis, 2.3 seconds behind, and my wonder now becomes, Jonathan, at this point in the race, as Rasmus does come down onto pit road, is Morgan, on less fuel, will be slightly quicker at this early portion of the run, but as we get further on, then it starts to kind of switch around. Otis will burn off his fuel, Morgan will be down onto pit road a couple of laps before, Otis will be very quick in those laps. And of course, Morgan will have more fuel to put in as well, so there are so many different elements of the strategy that are going to go into this right now, and I don't know who's going to be in the prime position come the end of this race.
Maybe a fixed setup, that doesn't mean you can fix how fuel affects your car. So if you have a less fuel in the car, obviously a lighter car, and that could really, really help improve your lap times. And right now, I think Morgan needs to put the hammer down while he has the advantage of a little bit of a lighter car, and while he knows he needs to be in pit road for slightly longer than Ryan Otis.
I think you're right. On board, we jump with Paul Jenkins, who is tucked up behind Craig Forsyth. A couple of cars both up significant positions. Forsyth up 9 on the day. Jenkins up 10, looking for 11. Working through Moss Corner. You can see different lines being taken through that corner, but I think with the way that there's just so much power for these cars to contend with, the ultimate goal is just get onto the throttle and 100% throttle, as it were, as quickly as you can, maximize your momentum down the straightaway. Jenkins jerks to the inside. Can he get this one done on the 53? The 53 loses it by himself. Oh, he hangs on to it, though, very impressively. Locks down that car, Jonathan, and he'll keep going behind Trevor Malone.
Forsyth has entered his application to enter Formula D, otherwise known as Formula Drift, with that save. But, that was costly for that 53. He was running so good. He was on the edge of the top 10. He was knocking on the door of it just now. and unfortunately just, I think, gave it a little too much space because I think he touched the grass right on entry, right here.
I think he just also slightly just runs wide on entry. Let's jump onto the onboard look with the 53 machine. You'll see here, just turns in late and always drifting up into the grass. So unfortunate there, but Forsyth, like I said, locks that one down in a very impressive fashion, and we'll keep on going. And we'll jump back to live pictures right now and jump to the battle for fourth, because Michael O'Brien well and truly tucked up behind Matt Taylor. Gap between Morgan and Otis is starting to creep on up to 3 seconds now, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mentioned it. You got to put that hammer down now if you're that 48 car. You need to use this advantage because you're going to lose time in the net pit stop window. And he played the pit stops perfectly. He got out in front where he wanted. He has the clean air. But come later on in that race, that one car is going to be angrily charging back.
There are some nice little groupings out on track. Of course, third and fourth separated by just a couple of tenths. As well, you've got Reagan and Guyon separated by 7 tenths, 4 tenths as well through the traffic. I think that was Thomas Lovelady. Lap 31 of 51 here, so cars working 6 and 7 laps respectively on their stint lengths, and I'm not sure in terms of how many cars it is that are capable of potentially doing this on a one-stopper. Of course, Reagan is in the prime position. Ricky Hart and Caleb Benke, they're also only 5 laps into their stint, Jonathan, but it's going to be close, and maybe the relatively worn track conditions here is helping that. It has cooled on down to 39 degrees Celsius as we see Guyon getting on past Reagan there. That implies to me that fuel saving is front and center on the mind of the number 19 right now.
Yeah, I think to make that strategy work, because you know the main fuel window was about 23, 24 laps, so okay, I needed to get at least to 25. Now you have to get to 26. And that pace lap, yeah, consumed a little bit of fuel, but not as much as a normal racing lap. So you're going to need to save a bit more on this stint than you should have. And it's going to be a bit harder because everyone's going to be spread out. You're not going to have the advantage of the draft in certain areas. The fuel saving is definitely on that 19's mind. And I think for him, it worked pretty well. He's jumped up a few positions. He gained some time. And I think at the end of the day,
well, I think you put it well as well in terms of we won't know until the end, but Reagan, fuel saving will be, I think, the one way that he can do it. We're getting word in the YouTube chat as well that maybe Matt Taylor can do it as well. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break here live on RaceSpot TV. Don't go anywhere. Continued coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series and Round 4, the SimXperience Grand Prix of Mosports, continues right after this. Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and continued coverage here live from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and Round 4, the SimXperience Grand Prix of Mosport. Stage Carom domination ends today as after 3 consecutive victories to start off the season, Karam, with real-world commitments from the Brickyard, will be missing today's action. Aaron Morgan leads from 4.6 seconds from defending series champion Ryan Otis. Matt Taylor and Michael O'Brien in close pursuit, though, for the final steps of the podium. Fuel saving, it's the name of the game, and Morgan, who had a slightly shorter pit stop in the first stint of the race, now has been pushing very, very hard. Fastest lap the last time around with a 1:08.096. And Jonathan, there's a lot of commotion in our YouTube chat right now going on about what these various strategies are going to be and who is going to come out on top.
And right now I'm trying to do the math and trying to find out like who went the longest. You know, they were saying Matt Taylor may be able to make it. He went 24 laps, so that means his next stint 27. That's a tough ask.
Yeah, I don't know if Taylor's going to be able to do it. There's no way Morgan can do it in my mind. As Taylor almost gets squeezed onto the grass side by side with the defending series champion. That is a statement of the move. He felt confident enough to sling that one around the outside with almost no regard for the defense that Ryan Otis was putting on. And Ryan Otis falls to third, and I think Michael O'Brien will want to take advantage of this one as well, Jonathan.
I don't know if that 8 car is fuel saving because with the move he put on, he put that on with authority and speed. And I also think, does that 1 car have damage on that left side, if we can get a good picture? Because I feel like he's falling much significantly more off the pace than that 1 car should be.
Let's see, we got the zoomed in view here. Right side looks okay. Get the left-hand side, I believe, down in through Moss Corner. Looks okay from the quick shot that we got there. Oh, no, you might be right. The left-hand rear side of the car might have some damage. I'm not convinced at this point, though. The thing that we know, gap between Morgan and Taylor is 5.6 seconds. So even if Taylor has a longer pit stop at this point, Jonathan, he really is in a good position, at least compared to the likes of Taylor, Otis, and O'Brien. The one that I think is in a very interesting spot, as you see, Aaron Morgan is coming down onto pit road, actually. So he's got about 16 laps to go or so, 14 laps, excuse me, from this point and forward. I think that Chris Reagan is in the driver's seat. This is going to be a long stop from Aaron Morgan as Michael O'Brien comes in behind him as well.
I don't think as long as you think, but I do think this is definitely the right call for Morgan because he couldn't stay out there any longer and lose time down the road. And I think it's the same for the 45. I think these guys are making the right call, and now it's their race to lose. They're going to be the ones chasing down the guys in lighter fuel.
You know what Morgan's done here? He's split the time in pit road effectively in two, Jonathan. 6.8 seconds stationary this time around. And it was a bit shorter, I think, in the first. 6.2 or something like that. So that's the strategy from Morgan. He cycled himself out into fourth. Now, I wonder if Ryan Otis has been fuel saving here because maybe there's damage, but maybe it's also just awareness of the race situation at this point in time.
I don't know, because considering he was one of the first ones down pit road, he definitely can't make it on one stop unless his name is either Scott Dixon or he's God. One of those two, and it's a tough ask, because that would be what? Like 28 laps? Like, there's no way.
I would say that some people would argue that Dixon and God are one and the same, especially when it comes to fuel saving. Yeah, I'm not sure. And at this point, we are getting a bit more elongated out. Siwa and Chris Reagan separated by 1 second. You have to go all the way back to Caleb Benke on back, where Jean-Francois Matt has worked his way up. An incredible, let's give him his full marks here, Jonathan. An incredible 16 positions on the day so far. And that's not on strategy. That's on pace with this HyperX onboard look.
I mean, he's got 2 top 10s, so he knows how to get this car into the top 10 as the 82 machine. And I think, he's proving it's not difficult to pass here. It's hard just because there's no one of those slow corners to make those big dives. I think the 82 has just been a really good opportunistic driver, capitalizing on a lot of these mistakes that some of the guys have in front of him as well.
Oh, Chris Fowler, what's happened to you there? As Matt Taylor down on pit road, Ryan Otis stays out. So yes, I think at least a little bit of fuel saving going on there. What's happening on pit road? Whose car is that's exploded?
I can't even tell about the number.
It's impossible to tell from there as Taylor's down on pit road. Let's go pick up what happened to Chris Fowler then, because I'm very shocked. I think something's happened to Thomas Lovelady as well. In fact, let's wait and see where everyone cycles on out. Aaron Morgan still in second position. Chris Reagan, and no matter how much saving he does now, finds himself, Jonathan, about 10 seconds back from the net race leader. I think Aaron Morgan very much in the driver's seat to take victory here.
Yeah, I think the pure pace on the strategy is also what makes the difference, and I think Morgan timed his strategy out right, got the gaps he needed, got the pace he needed, and now is in a position where that number 1 car is going to have to come down pit road. It's going to be a short pit stop for that one machine if he's trying to save a lot, but, you know, going to be still a pit stop.
I think now the battle is between Otis and Morgan, but I don't think it's going to be close. Morgan is 5.5 seconds clear of Matt Taylor. I think that gives you an indication of the gap we'll see between Morgan and Otis here. So Morgan has worked some strategy magic here, and on his 30th start in the Lionheart Retro Series, this might be his first victory. 14 top 5s, 19 top 10s. He's been a rather consistent driver since he joined. Across the start-finish line he goes. It should be 11 to go. And lots of pressure then on the number 48 to not slip up. Let's go and take a look at a number of those replays now that we've cycled through some of the strategy and we wait for Ryan Otis, the defending series champion, to come down on pit road. And he's just getting the power down. He noses it. Fortunately, no damage there as well, Jonathan. Locks it down in time, but loses a bunch of time. I'd say about 10 seconds lost here.
And thankfully, he's up towards the front where the gaps are pretty large. But for Fowler, that's a 10 seconds he didn't want to lose because O'Brien's now only 3 seconds off of him.
Moss Corner, I think, has claimed another victim. Thomas Lovelady, with the pressure from cars that are trying to lap him from behind, goes, you call it the Joker lap. I think that's the longest Joker lap we've seen today. Tom Dreiling as well, a victim of Moss Corner. And that's Isaac Snyder behind him. I think the first time that we've seen someone actually do a 180 and come to a stop like that. I think, by the way, Jonathan, you found it out. I think you're right. It was the 9 car, Justin Wardlow, that was smoking on pit road. Of course, he's been there for a very long time.
I'm wondering if he tried to refire it and the engine just kind of expired on it as he tried to pull out of pit road. But I think Moss Corner is going to go down in infamy as like the Ivor Series round a few rounds ago at VIR where the Oak Tree Corner claimed many a victim.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, we did say it had the potential to be very much the prime difficulty as we ride on board with Malone, very sideways as Benke is equally sideways in front of him. They'll fly their way down in through turn 1 as it is 11 laps to go this time around at the line. Still waiting for Ryan Otis to come down pit road. He will give the race lead back to Aaron Morgan. And I think Ryan Otis might actually cycle out closer to the likes of Michael O'Brien than Matt Taylor, so he might be just on the edge of the podium positions as well at this point as Chris Lanini down on pit road, Jonathan, as we are entering this portion of this race where we thought it might be the one stop that works, but Aaron Morgan has found something in the way that you can gain pit road, and he's found the track position as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. He divided down that pit road time. I think he minimized how much time he needed to be on pit road and try to maximize his pure pace he was getting out of the car. I think brilliant strategy call so far by the 48 because remember early on in this race he was down 3rd position. It seemed like he was kind of just going to be fighting out for the edge of the podium.
Left-hand side will once more cycle through the positions gained midway through this cycle run. You can see it's Jean-Francois Matt now up into the top 10, up an incredible 18 on the day. That is slightly assisted by a couple of cars that have come down onto pit road, so he might cycle back down to about 12th or so. Robert Mikes up 16, Nick de Groot up 13. He didn't enjoy the first road race of the year as much as this one. Watkins Glen not as kind to the motorsports.com rider, but the top 15 is on the cards and now competing in multiple of the Lionheart series. Once more jump on board with the 34 down through Moss Corner because he's looking very feisty now, Jonathan, on Caleb Benke.
And again, Malone, in points situation-wise, he sits in 11th. It's not the worst thing in the universe, but he has no top 10s to his name. And it's so close. He just has to pass Benke, and he gets to that 82, and he gets that first top 10 of the season. And he's trying for it. He's going for it now.
Pulls to the outside, as does the teal 34. Benke able to hold on, though, on the inside. This might be a battle that rages on, I think, till the very end of this race. Ryan Otis still out there on track, but coming down and up as it goes as well, because that straightaway is not flat by any means. Down in towards the final couple of corners. This might be getting towards the lap, or does Ryan Otis run this dry? The Lotus 79 has a tendency to become a bit of a rocket ship when you're low on fuel. And I think that's what Otis is going to do here, Jonathan. Run this thing dry, because last time around he was 2/10 quicker than Morgan behind.
It's only 300ths off his fastest lap, and now he's 4/10 off his fastest lap. So that was a bit slower that time. And I think Morgan might be a bit faster. It takes a little bit for him to get across the line. Let's see.
I think that was also maybe traffic. You saw there was some cars behind him as well as Morgan across the line this time, a 108.3. So indeed, Morgan this time 4/10 faster compared to the race leader right now. Morgan in the driver's seat heading into these closing laps of this race. And we are on the cards then for another new winner here at Mosport. Ryan Otis, if he can get on the podium, would be the third podium he has at this track. And I think that gives you an indication of why, Jonathan, he is the defending champion. It's obviously, though, most of his focus on the IndyCar series this time around. Not going to see him defend that championship. I think Sage Karam very much in the driver's seat as we head out of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, it's tough to see some of the top guys just not, perform as well as I think they wanted to, or maybe not get the win and make a dent in Karam's lead. We see Taylor's at least up fighting for the podium position, so that should help out as we see this butt kicker Red Bull-inspired car has had some trouble.
Ooh, there's going to be some damage as well that's forthcoming. Ricky Harding gets away with one as Chris Staples up and around there very briefly in the number 96. One more look at the replay with the onboard, Jonathan. Get a better look at the hands fighting to save that car.
It's a good thing Ricky Harding has yet to come down pit road because a change of pants will be required along with the splash and go of fuel, because that was a hard lick as well. I mean, I don't know if that car is going to be able to make it to the end because he's up pretty high with Staples, and now here comes Benke in the 34 who've been fighting aggressively through a section that you don't want to catch a slow car.
I would suspect maybe that car down onto pit road this time around. No, he stays out, so he's going to have Benke and Malone bearing down on him, trying to get past, and significant damage as well. Be interesting to see what's going to happen here. 7 to go for your leader Ryan Otis, who is 16.1 seconds clear of Aaron Morgan. Does owe us a pit stop as we're watching the battle for 9th position, as Benke will come around the outside through Quebec corner. Bold move to try and make that one stick. Will open the door, I think, for Malone. Benke does get the move done. Malone's going to try and get through on the inside as well, heading down the hill. Tucks back into line for a moment. Got a bit scared there, but I think I know why. Got Alex Gouillon bearing down here, Jonathan. I think Malone is a bit concerned about what the Frenchman can do.
I think he was a bit also concerned if that 96 was going to come across his front, because I think they were thinking about heading into Moss corner, and he realized going on the inside of turn 4, going to be on the outside in Moss corner, and then that door is going to shut. But now he's going to have a big run down the straightaway.
I think the damage on the 96 is clearly hindering him, not just through the corners, but down the straights as well. Car's bobbing and sliding its way through these final couple. Does he come down onto pit road? No. It would be the opportunity, I think, to come down. Staples is one of the cars that has been out there for one of the longest times, as Gouillon does get the move done. And Gouillon, who has come down onto pit road as well. So 6 to go here at this 2.5 mile track.
This is commitment. This is commitment to the strategy and to keeping that car out on the track. I'm surprised he hasn't been down.
Otis down on pit road then, so I was waiting for him to blink. And like you said, it is a lot of commitment. You could see just how much understeer Staples is now having to deal with in the 96 car. There goes Otis into the box. Pole position. Where is it going to feed him out? Is Aaron Morgan already down in through turn 1? I think the gap back to Matt Taylor is already up at about 5 seconds. Taylor is flying through 1 as Otis gets up to speed off of pit road. Ryan Otis still has a chance for 2nd position here, Jonathan.
Yeah, but Taylor's going to fight for it. He knows the points in this case are invaluable, and this podium is going to be huge. And I think 2nd to 3rd place, it's also a pride thing. Taylor's been around a little bit. He wants to try and take a fight to a defending champion.
Well, and for Otis as well, you talk about points. Taylor needs them. Otis does not at the end of the day. Otis would be contenders. Oh no, Taylor's off the road. I think for a second Otis almost followed him. How significant is the damage to Matt Taylor? He gets up to speed right in front of Chris Fowler. We'll spool up the replay in just a few moments. Follow the live action for now though, because down the Mario Andretti straightaway, it is Fowler with the draft. I don't think he's going to force the move this time around though, so let's go take a look at the incident and see exactly what happened there. I think it was just a little bit of pressure heading down into the braking zone there, and I think Taylor just felt a little uncomfortable, Jonathan.
Yeah, he had a fast car with the draft behind. He knew he needed to hold on, and I think just goes in a little hot. Yeah, just a little hot. You can see it sliding. Goes for that Joker lap, and unfortunately, well, that makes this fight for the edge of the podium very interesting. There's now 3 cars all within a second of each other.
Yeah, we'll pick up live coverage as Fowler gets the over-under. I think Taylor had a bit of a wiggle through turn 1. Oh, he's going to come off the track as well through turn 2. Michael O'Brien down the inside with no harm, no foul, but I don't think that car is looking content and settled. And we'll have to go take a look at another one of these replays then, Jonathan.
Talk about a no good, very bad lap.
Yeah, here we see down in through turn 1, he's got 35 in front of him for some dirty air. Oh, he just pushes wide with that dirty air in front. Fowler almost runs into the back of him and very nicely jerks to the inside just at the right time, Jonathan. Take a look at the onboard then from the 20 car.
You might even need to listen to the throttle here because he's going to have to get out of it as soon as he gets out of the corner. Sees the car.
No!
Ooh,
he doesn't lift down to the throttle either, Jonathan. That is, I can't necessarily use the words that I want to there, but commitment, cojones, to keep the foot planted and get up into 3rd position.
You know what one Australian man who loves to drink shoey says? You got to send it. And unfortunately, however, Fowler has to come back down pit road. Yeah,
that is unfortunate for him, and he, of course, did have a couple of his own issues as well, but commitment there. Now we know why, because he knew he still owed us a pit stop. 3rd position, then, it's going to be between Michael O'Brien and Matt Taylor with 3 laps to go. Fowler will cycle out in about 6th position, so not bad. And it drops to 7th as he finally gets off pit road and back up to racing speed. Down the hill, though, the 45, with Matt Taylor very much in his mirrors. Gap between 1st and 2nd, 6 seconds. Gap between 2nd and 3rd, Jonathan, 5.5. So really only focusing on this 3rd and final step on the podium in terms of fighting, because Aaron Morgan, Ryan Otis, they've just got to hold on now for a couple more laps.
But it's now about how badly you want that podium between the 45 and the 8 machine.
It's coming down as they make their way down into the final section of corners. I have a feeling it's going to be a last lap move here because you want to use the draft down into the braking zone at the end of that back straightaway, and that's going to be the prime opportunity to get it done. I don't think you can afford to wait until the last corner like they sometimes do in NASCAR here.
No, but how much do you really want to, risk it right now? If you are Taylor, you're going to be thinking about the points here. Rasmus is out. Harden's a little bit further down the order than you. You're trying to think, I think, big picture. Do you want to send it on a guy who's had 3 starts and had a very rough start to the season for this 45 machine so far?
Yeah,
do you want to send it and risk taking both of you out?
Well, we showed the driver profile, right? Highest finish this season for the rookie, Michael O'Brien, is 18th podium. We said he was in for it, but he's going to have to fight for it. White flag will be in the air in just a moment's time as Taylor will go down the inside. Don't think O'Brien will fight this too hard, taking in mind what I had just said with that draft. And indeed, Taylor does slide his way up into the lead, into 3rd position, Across the line, though, for Aaron Morgan. 2.5 miles away from his first victory in the Lionheart Retro Series. It's been 29. Very impressive start so far. One more lap with some lap traffic in front. That's all he's got to contend with. Follow the battle for 3rd, though, Jonathan. They make their way through turn 1.
Yeah, it's not going to be about setting this move up. We also should be concerned about those guys that have 1 stop. The 19, the 7, and 5th, and 6th. There's another guy, I think Malone as well, is on 1 stop. See if they can make it to the end.
So coming through Quebec corner are the contenders for 3rd and 4th. Let's pick up the race leader then as he's through some of the traffic and down onto the Mario Andretti straightaway for the final time this race. It's been Sage Karam domination this season so far. He would have set history if he could have come to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and won here, the first driver in Lionheart Retro Series to win 4 races in a row, but instead, all eyes focus on Aaron Morgan, his 30th career start in the Lionheart Retro Series, 14 top 5s, 19 top 10s, and finally the elusive victory he's been searching for in the SimXperience Grand Prix of Mosport, presented by Clipping That Apex. Dominant display, conquered the strategy, conquered the track as well, came out on top. And for Aaron Morgan, he'll make his way into HyperX victory lane as a very happy man. Across the line then in second, it is the defending series champion Ryan Otis, second for the second year in a row as well. Matt Taylor in third, and Michael O'Brien across the line then in fourth. Interesting race there, Jonathan. I will say it very much flew on by. I don't feel like 51 laps actually took place then.
I mean, when there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of action, when there's a lot of strategy going on, it all flies by. And for Aaron Morgan, this has got to mean something to him. He's had 29 starts. You mentioned it, 19 top 10s. He's only led 4 laps before this, and he's led, 20 of this race. Brilliant performance.
Impressive. And, you know, this is a track where only 3 drivers have led laps in the past. Sage Karam, Alex Saunders, and Ryan Otis. Those are big names to put yourselves in and amongst, and Aaron Morgan on the road courses today has very much made a impression. We'll take a look at our final race results in a few moments' time, but we're going to wait to see Aaron Morgan do some donuts, burn the house down, and celebrate his first victory in the Lionheart Retro Series, presented by SimXperience. I must say as well, Lionheart Speedway Series, Jonathan, on a Monday night, we've seen rookies win every single race of the season so far. I always love seeing those stories. And even though Morgan's not a rookie, it's been hard work, it's been determination. And 30 races into his career, he takes his first victory. And I'm sure not the last either.
No, I think that puts a statement on his bid, I think, for a good points finish this year. I think that puts a statement on everyone in this series that goes, hey, I can compete with the big boys. You know, I beat the defending champion by 5 seconds, not only on the strategy level, just on pure pace, because he gapped him by like 4 or 5 seconds in that middle part of the race. So just an incredible drive.
Incredible. Let's go ahead and take a look then at the unofficial race results, because Race Control will have a look at these incidents and take any further action they deem necessary. Morgan across the line then in the 48 car, victor by 4.7 seconds over the defending champion Ryan Otis, making a guest appearance for 2021. Matt Taylor makes it a very dominant display for the Avatar Order racing team. This is going to really shake up those team standings with only one of the Raven Motorsport Silver's cars in the top 10. So Taylor in third, O'Brien in fourth. A good fight between the two teammates, with Chris Reagan on that alternate strategy, cycling up into the top 5, but 30 seconds back from the race leader. Chris Fowler in 6th, Ricky Harding in 7th, Lavoie Motorsports 8th, 9th, and 10th. Great display for the French outfit. We expected maybe a little bit more, but for the team that is very much new to Lionheart competition, they will work their way into this competition as well. Craig Forsyth in 11th, Caleb Benke in 12th. Very tough battle there between Benke and Trevor Malone, where Benke comes out on top with Malone in 13th. Robert Mikes in 14th, the final car on the lead lap, and then Isaac Snyder, Richie Hearn, DJ Clark, Chris Staples, Nick DeGroot, and Paul Jenkins round out the top 20. Mike Rigney, Covey Moore, and Chris Lanini, the final cars finishing on the lead lap, with Mike Rasmas in 24th, 2 laps down, alongside Thomas Lovelady in 25th. Tom Dreiling in the 26th position, 3 laps down, and some of our non-finishers in this race, Ariel Alanis, Danny Roberts, Paul Slavonic, George Anzaldo, series organizer, who I don't think was too happy with how his race went. He was in our YouTube chat as well, so hopefully you enjoyed watching along with the action. But Dustin Wardlow in 31st, Gary Corley in 32nd, and then Lionel Callisto rounds out the 33-car field. So a dramatic day, to say the very least, and let's dive straight into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. And before we get into our interviews, because all three of our podium position finishers are standing by, Jonathan, I just want to get some thoughts from you there. Very last minute call for you, Dylan, unable to step into the commentary booth. Your first taste of Lionheart action and the Lionheart Retro Series. We got a few more passes for the lead than we've seen in prior races at this track.
A few more passes for the lead. I think the strategy was huge. There was so many different elements of this race that made it good. We saw fantastic driving. We saw mistakes. We saw people capitalizing. We saw hard chargers. There was just a little bit of everything that makes racing special, which is why everyone loves it, that made this race really, really good. And for all these podium finishers, they put on a great show. They all had their mistakes, and they all had their shining moments. But at the end of the day, it was a fantastic race. I loved it from start to finish.
So let's dive straight into it then and jump down into HyperX victory lane, where Aaron Morgan, in his 30th career Lionheart Retro Series start, takes his first career victory as well. Aaron, I'm sure this is a long day coming for you. Just how emotional and how excited are you about taking this checkered flag?
I'm so excited, especially because I never thought I was going to win on a road course against Ryan Otis in a straight-up fight, like pace-wise. I knew he probably had some traffic come into play there. I know he did, but I still never thought I would even be close enough to him, you know, coming into the year to take advantage of something like that. And oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Well, it wasn't just pace as well. You seem to have nailed the strategy. What kind of clued you on to that split in terms of equally distributing the amount of time you spent on pit road? Because it kind of fed you out into traffic almost perfectly. And at the end of the day, I think when you cycled out through that second pit stop run in the position you were in, it kind of became obvious to us that you were the one in the driver's seat then.
Yeah, in the practice races, I was playing around with like fuel saving and stuff because I knew the fuel number for one stopping, and it's like I was just so close to it, but then late in the race, it wasn't even a possibility. So then I tried splitting with my teammate in the second practice race. I did a full tank, and he did the half, and then he just pulled away from me so much in it. So when I knew tonight I had to do the half and half, it gave so much pace. It's like exponential when you get to that lower end of the fuel tank on how much pace you gain.
And it definitely worked out like that as well. It's been Sage Karam domination, very much so this season. He started this season off with 3 victories in a row, and you become the first non-real-life, non-Karam drivers, that's what I'm trying to say, to win a race this season. What does that mean to you now as well? Because in terms of the points, this is going to be crucial for you, and you'll very much take a step forward in this championship, and it's going to be hard, I think, to compete with Sage Karam, but victory today, it set you up to be one of the main names that we'll be talking about.
Yeah, it really is going to be mainly, is Sage going to make all the races or not? You know, with his real life racing, if he misses a lot of the races, I think I can realistically say I'm going to be fighting with my teammate, you know, Matt and Rasmus for the title even maybe. I didn't even think I might do that coming into the year, but it seems like I've definitely made a step up on the road courses, so that might be on the tables.
Well, congratulations, Aaron. Go off and celebrate then in HyperX Victory Lane, and we'll see you then in a couple of weeks' time for the first of the Triple Crowns from the Tricky Triangle.
All right, thanks so much, man.
So that was Aaron Morgan, first victory in the Lionheart Retro Series, and always great to see first-time victors as well. Let's bring in the defending series champion, Ryan Otis, who was making a guest appearance in today's race. And Ryan, congratulations on the podium. That was a very interesting fight here. Strategy, pace, and traffic, it all played a factor. Unfortunately, it just didn't come out in your favor today.
Yeah. You know, I was just talking to Matt about that. It's like, well, you had to get a little bit of luck in traffic, but you had to, you know, play the smart strategy, and Aaron did both, and I think I did a little bit of neither, but it was good fun. I was really looking forward to a battle there with Matt, but he ended up just sliding off into the grass and moss, so it was a little anticlimactic.
What was the race like for you, Ryan? Because you took victory in the first race, your second as well 12 months ago, so you finished on the podium in every single one, but I think this one had the most lead changes, the most intrigue as well. And when we came into it, knowing that Sage was going to be, you know, missing in action, as it were, we thought there would be a new winner. We weren't sure if it was going to be maybe you coming in and returning to take victory, or someone like Aaron. I think it definitely, though, just opened up the possibility for you guys. You went out there and you guys put it all on the line, and it just unfortunately didn't come in your favor tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had a chat with Sage earlier and knew he wasn't going to make it, so I was kind of bummed about that and figured at that point, it was just going to be a race for the win. And me and and Aaron and Matt, we were basically all just running the same lap times. So it was a little bit of a toss up there, and it's just a matter of playing the right strategy and having the cards fall your way. But yeah, congrats to Aaron on the win. He did a great job. He was fast all week, so he definitely earned it there. So congrats.
We've seen you on both of the road courses this season so far. Is this going to be something that we can expect to see for the rest of the year? Because obviously most of your attention going to the IndyCar series, but you enjoy, I think, this Lotus 79 on the road course. It's a unique experience, and I think one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily find themselves having tried and then realizing just how fun it can be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a blast. Yeah, I'd like to do all the road courses. Just it's just for fun. I always enjoy the battles, and everybody in Lionheart here drives so clean, and everybody's really conscientious, and so I'm always thrilled just to have good battles with these guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations, Ryan, on the podium. Great to see you back in the Lotus 79, and hopefully it continues over the rest of the year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
So that was defending series champion Ryan Otis. Sounds like it might not be the last time we see him on a Thursday night here. But now let's bring in third and final podium finisher, Matt Taylor. It was a very close run to the end there with Ryan Otis. And Matt, unfortunate mistake there at the end. Was it just a little bit too much pressure as you knew it was coming all the way down to the wire there in that battle for second place?
You had just a little bit of a silly mental mistake and a little too hard on the brakes, and going up into Moss like that, it just pushed the front too hard and slid right on through.
Well, a good day for your team there, Matt. You up 4 positions on the day. Aaron, of course, taking victory up 5 as well. What was it about this track that you guys seem to have identified? Because fixed setup, it's not too much that you guys can do differently compared to the other guys, but lots of pace, and not just from 1 or 2 cars, but indeed from a number of them up in the top 10.
Yeah, all 3 of us have really good road course pace, which helps us up front, work on strategy and those sorts of things. And that was really the key tonight, was going with splitting the second half of the race in 2 essentially, and going light. It really helped us avoid traffic there about midway through the race through near the end when Otis was fighting it, and really set us up for good positioning there. And the other half of it was just running clean. We saw it in the warm-up races up to this, but just keeping it on the track and limiting mistakes, even if you didn't have great pace, was going to almost guarantee you a great finish.
Next time we head to Pocono, which I think is going to be its own kind of challenge as well. First of the Triple Crown races, how are you looking forward to that one?
First time I've raced here, but I think it was one of the first Lionheart races I watched last year, and it's going to be a wild pack race, so it should be fun.
I think you might also be moving your way up these rookie standings as well. How are you enjoying this Lotus 79? It's not, I was just talking about this with Ryan, not the most popular car on the iRacing service, especially when it comes to ovals, but it puts on a show, and it definitely looks like you guys have a lot of fun driving it as well.
It's a shame because I love driving this car. We drive the DW12 and the R18, and those are okay in their own right, but this is the only car you can just slide around, and it is just so fun when those tires wear out, the fuel burns off, and you're almost dirt tracking through these corners. It's really unlike a lot of other cars that we drive.
Well, congratulations on the podium, Matt. We'll see you then in a couple of weeks' time from Pocono for, I think, what should be a very exciting race.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
So, podium interviews done then in the HyperX victory lane. And Jonathan, let's wrap up coverage here then and look forward to the future as well. 4 very exciting rounds. We finally have a winner not named Sage Karam. Kind of bumbled over that one when I was talking to Aaron, trying to get that out of my head. But heading to Pocono now. Tricky Triangle. After that, it's Phillip Island, Mid-Ohio. Then the big one, Indianapolis, the Brickyard. And as we head into the month of May, 2 of these Triple Crown races coming up in very quick succession. It's something drivers have to focus in on.
Yeah, they're 2 very, very difficult and very, very chaotic ovals. Pocono, it's going to be a lot of pack racing, but Pocono is definitely not a track that you should take lightly. You should get practice. You should get as much practice as you can with packs and moving around, because one little mistake you can take everyone out with you. And then In June, we go back home again to Indiana. That's going to be really, really exciting. But then we have to remember, these 2 road courses in the middle of this oval stretch here could also be really, really fun to watch. Phillip Island, a very similar track to this one, and then Mid-Ohio always puts on a good open wheel show.
And if people haven't watched the 2020, sorry, I'm still trying to forget that the last 12 months happened. Go and watch the 2020 Lionheart Retro Series race from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They were 4 wide at the end. It was awesome. I cannot wait to get to the Brickyard and call some of that myself. Jonathan, it's been a pleasure having you on board for this one. If Dylan is ever unavailable to jump on either in the future, you might be my first call. But this Lotus 79, I really want to harp on this just for a second as we close off here, because it's such a unique car. And I'm so glad that Lionheart over the last 5 years continues to put on this show with it, because some of these drivers, they love it. We saw the French contingent making their way into this competition. It's only going to intensify as I think more people figure out how fun this car is.
Yeah, again, it's a car with its own niche, unofficial, racing, but I think it's found a home here at the Lionheart Retro Series, and it's very interesting to watch. You get all the intrigue of it, and you really see these drivers work at it. Again, it's not like an Indy car. It's not like a Formula One car, a modern one at least, that sticks to the ground, has all this downforce. There's a lot of sliding. They mentioned it. You're almost dirt tracking it through some of these high-speed corners. It's exciting to watch, and watching some of these moves, just knowing that these cars aren't that difficult to drive too makes the racing and the moves almost more spectacular.
Well, that's going to be it then in our HyperX post-race show. Before we wrap up here from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, some thank yous to get to as well. Lots of partners helping the Lionheart Racing Series be the biggest it can be. First up, SimXperience, the makers of the AccuForce Pro V2, the premier professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire SimXperience ecosystem, visit SimXperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit HyperXGaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. For sim racers, the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit adds the missing driver-to-car connection, providing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com, and don't forget to use promo code LION2021 for 20% off all orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing channel. It's not just these names, but so many more that helps bring the Lionheart Racing Series to you, live on RaceSpot TV and broadcast on ESTV as well. You can head to LionheartRacingSeries.com to learn more about the names up on the screen, as well as finding out more about the 3 different competitions that the Lionheart Racing Series has to offer. You've got the classic Lotus 79, you've got the even more legendary Dallara DW12 that puts on some of the best oval racing that modern IndyCar has seen, and then the Lionheart IndyCar Series and the Dallara IR18. It's been a pleasure to have you along for this past couple of hours here from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time for the first Triple Crown of our championship. If you want to stay connected, though, for more of your esports action, you can follow the Lionheart Series for updates on all 3 of the Lionheart competitions, ESTV for all of your esports coverage, and at RaceBot TV for your sim racing action. Can subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the red button and the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with the great sim racing series we get to cover. Like I mentioned, we will be back in a couple of weeks' time for the next round of the Lionheart Retro Series. But if you want more Lionheart competition, next week, the first Triple Crown in the Lionheart Oval Series as they head to the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. And then on Wednesday, round 4 of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, Sage Karam should return from Indianapolis for round 4, Watkins Glen, what should be a very exciting race. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by Jonathan Burt for today's coverage, with TV cameras provided to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com. Additional car cameras provided by RaceBot's own Tyler Maxson. Timing and scoring powered by our partners at Timing 71. You can head over there to follow along with the best in the real and virtual worlds of motorsports using their world-class suite of data analysis tools. Lots more competition then to come in terms of your Lionheart Racing Series competitions. So stick around on RaceBot TV for more, but for now it's time to say so long and good night for the team behind me. My name's Arjuna, Jonathan's been alongside, and we'll see you next time for more Lionheart Racing Series action.